We take water for granted. We turn the faucet, and out it comes. And we assume that the water is clean, that it is healthy, that it is ready to drink or bathe in or cook with. Water is life, and we assume that it is plentiful and it's available to all. We assume, and therefore we don't really give the matter any more thought. But our assumptions are wrong. Even here in Kirkland, where the water's pretty good, even here, our tap water can carry up to 21 contaminants. We violated 8 safety regulations just about a year ago. Now, this is certainly not a crisis. I mean, the delivery of water is never going to be present. The delivery from source to sink is always going to pick up something. But it's a warning. It's a waving flag reminder that water requires protection. It requires participation. It requires respect and an awareness of that which is more important than profit. We're fortunate here. We believe in active government, in oversight of the market, in regulation and accountability of utilities and the infrastructure that makes society a blessing rather than an obstacle. This is not true everywhere. It certainly wasn't true in Flint, Michigan, you might remember, just a few short years ago. An economically devastated, poor black community that had little, if any, political power or status. And it found itself at the mercy of a wickedly cruel political party with its church-going governor, Rick Snyder, who, for reasons of budget savings and an utter disconnection, an utter lack of respect for communities of color, knowingly, that's the point, knowingly switched the city's water supply to the polluted, contaminated, under-resourced, poisoned waters of the Flint River. Snyder and his cronies knowingly allowed Flint citizens to drink from dilapidated lead-based plumbing, despite the destructive effects they knowingly knew it would have on their citizens. It's worth reading up on. It won't take you long. It will distress you. But the horror show of how the Flint River became poisoned in the first place is not unique. What happened to the citizens of Flint was not unique. It wasn't just a one-off incident. It actually happens more often than we know. Flint managed to get publicity out of it. The causes are always the same, always similar whenever these events become public. It's a refusal to think like a web, to think of creation as the commons, and to think of society as a common good. It's caused by unregulated business, along with limited government authority, the targeting of communities of color, the targeting of the poor. Just ask the citizens in Jackson, Mississippi today, or the recent headlines of the Texas debacle. Again, these are the results, the logical consequences of a philosophy, an ideology to limit government, along with the corollary, unregulate, unrestrain business. And the result is always the same. citizens left on their own in a state of helplessness before the storms of life, vulnerable to the organized ruthlessness of Pharaoh-type corporations that exploit every opportunity to seize power and financial enrichment. It's the same story over and over again. Water is life. One would think access to clean water would be a basic human right. And yet, for over 844 million people, that's 10%, 1 out of every 10 people today living on this globe, clean water is a vision, not a reality. Today, as we turn on our taps, let us remember that women in deeply distressed nations still carry water, often walking up to 4 miles a day, hauling 40 pounds of water, just so that they can cook and clean and sustain their households. The image of God is still enslaved in many parts of the world, is still crucified, even though not only is another world possible, all of this is actually easily fixable. Water is life and is an issue of justice, of sacredness for those who care for God. Stephanie's powerful reading about the heroism of the people of Standing Rock is an inspiration for us. Their courage and persistence and deep wisdom in the face of Pharaoh is a role model and an example for us. They saw clearly how defenseless the water was to the lusting appetites of oil and organized moneyed interests. Despite being poor and without power, a David with only a slingshot before a Goliath of many weapons, nevertheless, they stood up. Nevertheless, they organized people.
Coming over the hill and seeing camp was mind-blowing.
Holy smokes. Hundreds of native tribes came together for the first time, as did thousands of non-natives from across the world. They all converged at Standing Rock.
Though the native tribes set up camp first, people from all over the world soon showed up at Standing Rock to join the fight to protect the water.
What should we
going to do, as I remember those who were willing to risk their liberties and their freedom and get arrested would go in an act
and watch and pay attention to Standing Rock, how they went about their work of holiness, of water protection. My son, Michael, was there for part of that struggle. He can tell you about the atrocities imposed
in 20-degree weather. The National Guard, they had a fire hose, and they were spraying all of the water protectors and coating them in water in freezing temperatures. It is an endangerment to human protesters today, Black Lives Matter protesters, but it's more than just Black Lives Matter. Obviously, there is a revolution happening right now, but it began at Standing Rock. I was there and I saw this oil that is now flowing through our homelands illegally could destroy the entire river forever or for how
there in the Dakotas and the 2 years that
since
after the
Standing Rock, I know that the American people are waking up to the nightmare that we experienced there at Standing Rock. But I've been re-recognizing that land is sacred, life is sacred, the universe is sacred. I have available to me, and everybody has available to them, a more informed metaphysics, a more compassionate way of navigating our experience here. I belong to the Titwa Oyate na
He'll tell you
Ocheti
about those
Shakonwi.
prayer circles that were continuous and at the very heart of all the actions that sustain the people's spirit and life and strength. He'll tell you about how everything revolved around a deep spirituality, a trust in eternal spirit, and the connection that was felt with the earth. Everything connected, everyone related, all creatures of our God. Today, I want to share a meditation, slightly altered, written by Reverend Dr. Leah Shade in her book, Creation Crisis Preaching. In her meditation, she is role modeling how to think like a web. She imaginatively allows water to speak for itself through a series of biblical stories of creation, of the great flood, of the woman at the well, of Jesus. And in this meditation, she reminds us why it is important for Christians to love and to serve Christ through loving and serving Christ in and through creation. And so breathe in and breathe out. Our sacred story begins in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while the wind of God swept over the face. I am walking. I am waiting. In the beginning, I waited in deep silence, my depths holding in on themselves, pushing me down into eternal creativity before I waited for God's breath to inhale and free me from my to sweep me up into heights unknown, to exhale me, floating in mists, my molecules dancing in darkness. I waited for light. And there was light. And it was good. Light shining through me, creating something in me that I had never known was possible. Colors. Red and orange and yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I was in ecstasy, seeing my form emerge transformed. I waited to push up and out and break and reveal earth. And there was earth, solid against my fluid. And it was good. I waited to join with myself again in droplet form, and to fall upon the earth as rain, puddling in earth's indentations, flowing down her peaks, coursing through her creases, washing her, gathering between her bosoms, soaking down into her depths, gathering silently beneath her skin, pooling gradually in her womb. I am water. I am waiting. I waited for life. A crack of lightning surged through me, electrifying something within me that steered slightly and grew, atom by atom, molecule by molecule, cell by cell, tissue upon tissue, organ upon organ. Look at all that is growing and moving within me, swimming things and floating things and aggressive things and gentle things. Beings that take me into themselves as I take them into myself. I course through them. They course through me. I live in them. They live in me. I am alive. I make alive. I am water. I am waiting. I am waiting to recede. At God's command, I broke forth in flood and rain, my depths rising, covering earth, swallowing her colors. Only the ark remained, floating upon my surface. Look at all that is dead and floating upon my surface. I pull them into my depths, enfolding them into my eternal creativity. They are consumed by the swimming things. I wait for earth to reappear, for the dove to alight and cease his flight across my expanse, carried on God's breath. I wait for tentative toes to tickle into me, no longer afraid of me. I wait for light to shine through me. And look, there upon the earth, a rainbow has draped her. Green shoots, purple flowers, blue skies, yellow eyes, orange flesh, red blood. Now I am rainbow once again, this time joined with light as a sign of God's covenant. I am water. I am waiting. I am waiting at the bottom of a deep well. I am waiting to quench her thirst. I am waiting as sun rises high in the sky, stealing my droplets with his heat, chasing me from the sandy soil. I must gather myself quietly, in secret, beneath earth's desert skin. Here in this well, I wait. She comes alone with her bucket that she drops down into me. I greet her with a splash from below. She draws me up and sets me beside a man. She dips her clay cup into me and hands me to this man. I touch his lips with my coolness. He calls me living water. And I recognize that voice. I recognize those lips. I was poured over his body at the river. He played in me and rejoiced as God's breath once again spoke and light broke forth upon him. Now I cascade down his throat and coat his belly. I course through him and take away the waste from his body. Later, he will release me back into the earth, but part of me will remain in him, pooling beneath his skin, gathering in a secret place. I am water. I am waiting. I am the sweat on his forehead, cut by thorns. I am tears leaking from his eyes, weeping in agony, falling to dusty soil far beneath his pierced feet. I am breaking. A spear pierces his side, and I gush out. But what am I birthing this time? Crucified. I am crucified with this man. I am water. I am waiting. I am waiting at the bottom of a shallow well, a bowl, a font. I am waiting to be poured over a child's head. I am waiting as songs float over me and words are breathed around me like God's breath moving over me at the beginning. I wait while a candle hovers over me, a token of sun's flame, a reminder of what light can do to me and for this child and for these people. I wait as hands cup me and draw me up and pour me over the child's head. I wash over flesh. I am once again living water. I'm alive. I make alive. I am water. I am waiting. I am waiting to die and make dead. I was sucked from the river and filled with chemicals meant to kill even the tiniest algae in me. I was forced into earth with violent pressure such as I had never experienced, cracking her, fracturing her within her depths. Gas was released, and so was I, carrying the toxic substances that were meant only for Earth's deep places. Through fissures and seams, I migrated from below onto concrete and streams. I was spilled from above with my poisons. I wait at the bottom of her well. She's afraid of me. I'm dark and cloudy, brown and foul. I burn when a flame is held to me. Look at all that I have killed. Microbes and fish, cattle and canine. Where is the dove? Where is God's breath? Where are the toes I used to tickle? I cannot quench her thirst. I am no longer living water. I am crucified water. She carries me in clear glass jars, shows me to all who see. Will you drink this? She asks. Will you wash your children in this? Will you baptize in this? What will you do with this water? I am water. I am waiting. I am waiting for you. I am waiting, longing for you to be revealed as the children of God, to set me free from my bondage to decay. I am water. I wait with hope that God will make me resurrected water. I am water. I am waiting.